to Super Bale Sews. My name's Sarah. Thank you for joining me today. Our post today is going to be about size inclusive patterns that are accessible for beginner and confident beginner sewists. Now, I've been sewing a little over 2 years now, and I would say for the first maybe 6 months, I wasted a lot of time and money either by buying patterns that were size-wise not going to work, so a misunderstanding of how the sizing worked, or patterns that were too difficult, or where the steps weren't laid out clearly enough, or where the construction was too complicated, or the types of fabrics you had to use were too complicated. So I want to try and help other people who may be taking up sewing to find size inclusive, beginner friendly patterns. Now, if you are here as a new sewist, welcome. Congratulations on taking up a great hobby. Prepare yourself to probably spend a lot of money, but maybe not. There are lots of ways you can sew and not spend a lot of money, but that's definitely what I've found. And yeah, if you are an old hand sewist, I hope that you enjoy some of these suggestions, and maybe if there are any that you think I've missed out, leave them below. So first up on my list, I think the easiest first wearable garment for anyone to make is pajama trousers. Now, you'll often find that if you do like a beginner sewing course, like I did the Sew Over It Introduction to Sewing course, the first wearable garment they get you making are pajama trousers. There are lots of reasons for this. The fit is really simple because normally it's kind of a loose fit with an elasticated waist, which is very easy to do. And then you can just hem it to the desired length. Also, you can do it without any tricky fastenings. So you can, as I said, you can either have an elasticated waist. Often there's sort of a false drawstring, but I mean, you could do a real drawstring if you wanted to. But often people put like, they like the look of a drawstring, but they prefer the fit of elastic. So you'd have an elastic waistband, and then you can just sort of feed a drawstring through the front opening and tighten a pretty little bow. You can also make shorts for the summer, and you can use a variety of different types of fabric. But mainly if you stick with like a cotton, it could be a brushed cotton, could be a lawn for some summer pajamas. They're really easy to work with. So for beginner sewists, another one of the big mistakes I made early on was I was just so excited by what I was seeing that I was ordering all sorts. I didn't really understand I didn't understand, for example, the difference between like a viscose jersey and a cotton jersey, or like how those bases will make those fabrics different. So something like pajama trousers are a really easy place to start. Now, a lot of brands have pajama trousers. I'm going to recommend for now the Tilly and the Button Jamie. They also have a corresponding pair for men, which is the Joe pajama trousers, and both come in long or short options. Jamie is currently available. I'll pop a little picture up here. So you can make them the full length or the shorter one. I'm on the shorter one. And the lovely Jessie is on the longer ones. And it comes in a paper pattern, which is size 4 to 24, or PDF pattern, which is goes up to a size 34. And the 34 goes up to a 62.5-inch waist and a 64-inch hip. And they're sized not in normal sizes, like it's not sized like a size 10, 12, 14. It's sized in 0 to 15. So the number you see on the chart will not correspond necessarily with something you'd normally wear. So yeah, it's got a low-rise elasticated waist. It's got a very relaxed fit. There's also, I believe, a tutorial, like a free video tutorial sew along, which is obviously very helpful if you're new to sewing. And as I said, the fabric options you'd use for that are things that are really stable and easy to work with. And there's a lot of sewing in straight lines. So it's a good one if you're just getting used to your machine. Yeah, that's a great place to start. So next up, I'm going to go in with another pattern that I've talked about in previous blog posts, which is this one behind me, which is the Friday Pattern Company Wilder Gown. Now, if you want to make yourself a dress, but you're just feeling a bit intimidated, this is an excellent place to start. It uses a lot of fabric, but you could make the blouse version as well, which is shorter by the way. So there's just a blouse and then there's a skirt with multiple tiers. So basically it's, the skirts are just made up of a load of rectangles, okay? And then if you want to add more tiers, you basically add more rectangles, but they're the same size. So in this dress behind me, the middle tier is made up of 2 rectangles, which with a gathering stitch at the top. And then the lower tier is made up of 3 of the same sized rectangles, which are gathered. So obviously they're gathered more than the middle tier is. So that's a new skill you will learn doing something like this. It's gathering. You can get, I think I mentioned the other day, I bought a gathering foot for my machine actually, but I've not used it yet because I still need to work out how you get it to gather the amount you want, because obviously how much, this skirt is a perfect example. The top tier of the skirt doesn't need to gather as much as the lower tier of the skirt does. So I still need to work out how to use that. Maybe I'll do a video once I've worked it out. But yes, so Friday Pattern Company, Wilder gown. It comes from a size SX to 7X. And that is all printed in one pattern. So you can get PDF or printed. They don't have separate patterns for the plus size and the normal size. So straight size, I shouldn't say normal size, should I? The straight size and the plus size. It's all just one, which is great. And it goes up to a 60-inch bust and a 63-inch hip. Although this pattern has loads of give. So the finished garment measurements are, there's like a lot of room. So if, yeah, if you like, you might find, I find often with Friday Pattern Company garments that I can actually size down because there's often a lot of ease in their designs. So I normally end up a size or 2 down. So if you are new to sewing, again, something to familiarise yourself with is the difference between the size chart and the finished garment measurements. So if you're making something that's very close fitting, there may not be much of a difference between the size chart and the finished garment measurements. If you're making something with ease, so ease is sort of extra space, there may be quite a big difference, okay? And this is one of those patterns where there is a big difference. It's a big billowy dress. That's one of the things that makes it easier to make, because you don't have to worry about a close fit because it's supposed to have a loose fit, okay? It's got raglan sleeves, which I'll put a picture of up here, but the raglan sleeves are, so the bodice will sort of go like this and the sleeves will attach on here. You can sort of see that on the mannequin, sort of along here. And here are the raglan sleeves. It's, again, got a really simple fastening at the neckline, which is you just put a tie through. So you can either make one from the fabric you're using. I tend to use ribbon because I like the little contrast. And then it just tightens it up. So again, that fastening there, you don't have to do any tricky facing or anything. You just fold the top of that pattern piece over. And then you feed the fabric or the ribbon through. So that's really, really easy. It comes with long or short sleeves. And as I've said before, it feels like I've gone, considering I've only made this twice, I feel like in every video I've talked about the Wilder like a weird amount. But it's a modular design, so you can very easily edit it. So you can go for, like, my dress is sort of close to maxi length. You could just have one tier, or you could have shorter tiers, and it could finish at the knee, or a mini dress, or a little blouse, or whatever. You can really play around with it. And again, it's for woven fabrics. So this one is in a viscose challis, but you could also make it in a cotton. It would have a bit more structure then. Viscose challis is very drapey. Both of my Wilders have been in viscose challis. It can be a bit, so it has this lovely drape, but it's a bit trickier to work with. So again, if you're a beginner, I would recommend probably using a cotton, like maybe a cotton lawn, if you want to use something that's got a bit more movement. But maybe don't go straight in with the viscose because it can be a little bit tricky to work with. Next up, another woven pattern before we're going to move on to some knit patterns. Cashmerette are one of the best brands in terms of sizing and making their patterns easily adaptable to your body shape. Okay, so they come with multiple cup sizes for each of the options. There's a really great book, Ahead of the Curve, which has basic alterations and patterns that you can use to test these out on. And generally they've just got loads of patterns that are really size inclusive, but also easily adaptable to get the best fit. And I've often found with the Cashmerette patterns I've made that the fit is good before I've even done anything. So if I just make one without doing a toile, you use their, they have a size calculator, which I'll pop in the description below, and you put your measurements in, and then it tells you the size to make, including if you need to grade. So I do, so it'll tell you, for example, for the bodice, it will tell you which cup size to make. They have, I think, 3 cup sizes options. It'll tell you which cup size to make and which size. So it might be like a size 20 GH or whatever. And then I grade to a different size for the waist, and then I grade back for a size for the hips. So it tells you exactly which ones you have to grade between. And it will also tell you if you need to do an additional FBA on top of that. So by the time you've done that, you can make the garment, and there may be little tweaks, but the fit will be pretty good. So yeah, Cashmerette generally great. Now, as a beginner, I would say a good starter pattern is the Montrose top, which is like a woven top. It can be, there's like a woven sort of t-shirt look, and then there's one with slightly longer sleeves. I have made a couple of these, I think. And I've got another one planned, like a Christmassy one. It goes, so Cashmerette now have, so they started off dealing with plus sizes, but now they have straight sizes as well, but with the cup options. So again, it just means that for anyone, you're going to be able to get a better fit, because most people, regardless of your size, most people do not fit into straight sizes. So they have 0 to 16 and then 12 to 32, and they are both available in PDF and printed patterns. And it goes up to a 64-inch bust, this top measurement, and has cup sizes C to H. And that's in both of the size bands, it has the cup sizes. They also have options for standard and full bicep sleeves. So if you find that you struggle, especially because it's woven, if you're worried about the fit of the sleeve, there is a full bicep option included, so you can adjust the sleeve to make it fit you better there. And it's designed with curves in mind, okay, so which is great. There are 2 views. One has a scoop neck and short sleeves, and one is sort of more designed for like lace or embroidered tulle or sort of more embellished, interesting fabrics like that. And that one has a dual neck, elbow length sleeves, and then it's got a little keyhole opening. Now I've mixed and matched, so both versions of this I've made in wovens. I made one in linen, which I then modified to be cropped, and I also modified it to add, instead of there's a button, so I did the keyhole opening on the back, and I used that even though it was on a normal woven fabric. And one of the times I did a little button, and then the linen one I elongated the neckline binding and had it tied in a little bow, which I'll pop a picture of up here. Really, really easy. You just extend the binding and then tie it up. Really easy hack. And again, this is just a really nice way. If you find, like if I find a really nice fabric and it's expensive and I think, oh, I can't afford to buy that much, I can't afford to buy enough for a dress. And then if the fabric as well is quite busy, this is a really nice pattern to sort of show off a cool print, because it's just simple. Again, the fitting is nice and easy. You use the size calculator. I've got a couple of things that I'm going to change the next time I do it, so I think I'm going to lower the bust darts. But I only know to do that because I've read the Ahead of the Curve book. So as I said, Cashmerette patterns generally are, not all of them are so beginner friendly, I think, but in terms of like fitting, Cashmerette is the best brand for learning how to start fitting your clothes, I think. So yes, that's the Montrose top. Next up, I'll actually talk quickly about what I'm wearing, which is just a very simple t-shirt. I'll stand up and go back just so you can see the fit of it a bit better. So it's basically an oversized t-shirt. Now, I have had issues previously in that when I work out, I like to wear leggings and then a big oversized t-shirt. And in women's t-shirts, for buying and in a lot of sewing patterns, I've struggled to find patterns that are oversized. So this is a men's t-shirt pattern by Elba Textiles. It's called the Sage Tee. And I have made this about 5 times now because I just make it really big. I've made it in, this is leftover. So if you look at the back, it's different fabric. So I've made it from scraps left over from different projects. Really, really quick sew. And it's just the sort of thing that if I'm exercising or if I'm having a day where I'm like cleaning around the house or just like chilling out at home or doing like a bit of yoga or something, this is the sort of thing I want to wear. So, and again, it's super simple. So if you want to start working with stretch fabrics, a lot of people are quite nervous of jersey. Like I remember when I started sewing, I would read things about how difficult it was to sew with stretch fabrics. And actually I then started with children's clothes. And if you buy the right fabric, not difficult at all. Honestly, it's really, really not. So the main recommendation I have is start off with cotton jersey, okay? Viscose jersey, again, it's going to have more drape. It's often lighter in weight, whereas cotton jersey is nice and stable. You can get some really beautiful prints. And it's just I think it's just a really good, it's obviously easier in terms of fitting. And I just really enjoy sewing with cotton jersey. So as I said, this is the Sage tee. It is a men's pattern. It goes up to a 64.5-inch chest. And it's just a very basic crew neck, relaxed fit t-shirt. If you prefer a more fitted tee, I'm about to talk about one which is sort of a tee. There are options for that as well, but this is just easy. And again, in terms of fitting, it's just loose fit, very, very straightforward. So the next, if you want a more fitted tee, I'm going to talk about Cashmerette again. So in the Ahead of the Curve book, it comes with, I think, 5 patterns, which are in a mix of woven and knit fabrics. And one of them, which I made recently, so I'm trying to only include patterns that I've actually made. One that I made recently is the Stanway t-shirt, which is just the t-shirt pattern in the book. Again, it has raglan sleeves. So like I said, the wild gown has raglan sleeves. And it comes in size 12 to 32. And it's printed in the back of the book. And also if you've bought the book, I think you can like download a PDF version and print that off. When you use book patterns, they're often printed in a way where all the patterns cross over. So you have to trace them out, which I hate doing, but I do sometimes. I did it with this one. So Stanway tee is just a lovely t-shirt pattern. And again, you can just use the fitting tips. In the Ahead of the Curve book, they have fitting tips specifically for the pattern. So it will say like, if you see drag lines here, or if you feel it's pulling here, these are the adjustments you need to make and how to make them. So if you want a fitted tee, I've made it as a base layer. So I'll add up here when I made my dungarees. I wear it with my Erin dungarees a lot, but I just wear it as a base layer, and I'll probably make a couple more as base layers. It's really comfy, and yeah, just very easy to make. So I would say a couple of t-shirts. You don't have to worry about any tricky things. Just make sure you don't stretch the fabric as it goes through the machine. Get some stretch needles for your machine, and either use, you can get knit fabric foots. You can get a walking presser foot, you can get knit fabric foots, or some machines, like I have a Faf Ambition, and they have a built-in walking foot, so that will make things easier as well. But yeah, that's that. So then you can, oh, and there's also, Tilly has a book called Stretch, which the patterns is not the full range of sizes, but there are good tips in there for sewing with stretch. The one update would be that previously you'd always have to sew with a zigzag stitch, because if you've got given the fabric but then you don't have given the thread, you don't want the thread snapping when you're trying to put your head through the neck hole or whatever. But now you can buy Mariflex thread, which is thread which has a little bit of stretch in it, so now you can sew in a straight line, which obviously looks neater. Yeah, great. So next I've got a little accessory. Obviously this has no size. I just think it's a really cute thing to make, and it's a fun beginner project, and you sort of draft it yourself, and it uses lots of scraps as well. So this is the Pisa Bow Bag by Kate Eva Designs, and I'll put a little picture up of the one I made here. And it's just a really cute little bag. You don't actually get pattern pieces. You get a tutorial and you measure out sort of a series of rectangles and things yourself. But again, it's just quite a pleasing construction, really quick make. There are no tricky steps in it, okay? Lots of really easy steps. And it's got this nice bow, it's got these cute little handles. You could easily adapt it. You could have longer handles. You could get rid of the bow. You could make it reversible. There are so many different things you could do with it. And also, what is cuter than having a little outfit and then making yourself a bag that matches it? Like, how cute is that? Absolutely great. So, yeah, the Pisa Bow Bag, if you want to dip into accessories. Next up, we have the Helen's Closet Winslow culottes. So we're going into trousers now. Now, I have a fear of making trousers because I think the fitting is difficult. I don't know how true, whether that's a fallacy that I've made up or not, but that's how I feel. The fitting is difficult. But the Winslow culottes, I've made a few versions. The fitting is really easy because they're culottes. And I think the shape is so pleasing. And again, it's a really versatile pattern. So it comes in sizes 0 to 34 and in PDF format. And it goes up to a 62-inch hip. They're basically wide leg trousers. It comes in varying lengths. So full length, sort of mid calf length, and then you can do shorts as well, but you could really make them any length you like. They have a flat interfaced waistband, invisible zip at the back, although there are options for something else, which I'll explain in a second. And it has large inseam pockets and these really pleasing pleats, which are what give it its shape. So I've again made this in viscose, and I've made them in cotton, and I've made them in linen, and they look, I mean, the linen ones hold the shape, so they look very sort of voluminous. Whereas the viscose ones sort of just look like a skirt. They've got a lot of movement. So it's really versatile pattern. I felt, I enjoy the box pleat look. I feel like with the flat waistband at the front, it just gives you a really nice silhouette. There are lots of hacks for this. So if you go on the Helen's Closet website, they have different hacks. The 2 pairs I've made most recently, I swapped out the zip back for an elasticated waist at the back. So you keep the flat waistband at the front, so you still have that streamlined look, but it's just a bit more wearable, I think. And also then you don't have to put a zip in. So you can go on the website, I'll put the link below, and there are lots of other hacks for these culottes as well. But I would say they are a great choice for if you want to try making something like trousers. Obviously skirts are a bit simpler because you can make a very nice basic skirt just out of 2 rectangles and some elastic. Paper cut patterns have a pattern, which I can't think what it's called now. I'll put it up here when I remember what it's called. But they have a pattern which comes as like a dress or like a wrap top and a skirt, which is reversible. And the skirt in that is super easy. It's literally rectangle, rectangle, and then you do an extra tier at the bottom if you want, and then it's elasticated waist. So in terms of the bottom half, there are a couple of really straightforward things you can make. The Winslow culottes are just a bit elevated, step above. Then sticking with the knit fabrics, the Billy sweater and sweater dress. So I've mentioned this before, I'm one of the models for the extended sizing for this. I love, like, I'm not someone who would have bought a dress like this in a shop. And then obviously I did the shoot and I just loved the dress. I loved it. And now I've made a couple. I wear them all the time. Like in autumn, winter, they're so wearable. I just wear them all the time. So again, it's a very straightforward pattern. It comes size 6 to 34, printed and PDF options in the full size range. And it goes up to a 60-inch bust and a 61-inch hip. It has this relaxed shape. It's got a crew neckline. The dress has pockets. You can do straight sleeves or balloon sleeves. And there are lots of other ways you can sort of work on, you can sort of change it. You can put, I think they've just released like an iron-on thing you can put on, or you could sew something on it, or you could do colour blocking. So again, it's just a really simple wearable pattern, a nice shape. So if you want to make yourself something a little bit warmer, I would say Billy is a really good way in. Now, the other thing to be mindful of is a lot of these brands will have multiple patterns that are beginner friendly and in a good size range. So I think that's the key thing. If you look at any of the big four, the instructions are just not clear enough. Whereas if you look at like Tilly and the Buttons or Sew Over It or Helen's Closet or any of these indie patterning companies, their instructions are much more clear. So even if you're a bit confused, even if you think like, I've not done this particular skill before, their instructions and the extra things they have, so like video tutorials and like blogs and things, will make it easier. So look around. If one of these patterns isn't for you, the brand might have another pattern that suits your needs. Now, if you want to, after you've done some of these, you might think, I want to make something more complex. I'm just going to recommend a couple of things. I want to talk about By Hand London, which is one of my really favourite sewing brands. My most made pattern is a Tamsin dress pattern. Now, I think if you're getting past the beginner stage and you want to make something that's got a bit more to it, the Tamsin dress is a really great way to go. It goes from size 6 to 34 and is available printed and in PDF. I'll put some pictures of some of the ones I've made up here. I've made it loads of times. I adapted it for a bridesmaid's dress. I've made tops. I've done all sorts with it. It has these pleats. It has this nice like square neckline, beautiful sleeve options. It's just gorgeous. And the fitting, again, is really easy. So it's for woven fabrics, but they have these waist ties, which mean the fit is, you can get sort of that fitted silhouette or like more streamlined silhouette, but without having to do a lot of tricky fitting yourself. So if you're thinking you want to sort of take the next step, I would say Tamsin is great. And also, if you decide you want to have a go at maybe self-drafting, which is when you start drawing the pattern yourself, so a bit like with the Pisa bow bag, By Hand London have just released like literally today, so I've not made these yet, 3, it's like PDF patterns for making different types of skirts, but you self-draft, so it's the guide as to how to draft these skirts. I think this is in their full size range as far as I could tell. There's like one that's like a ruffle wrap skirt, there's one that's like got tucks down it, there's one I think that was like 3 like big ruffle layers. They just look really cute, and that would again be a way to sort of elevate to the next level. So, and that could obviously fit any size. If you're self-drafting, you can make it to size you. So yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. I've not done a lot of sewing this week, which is yeah, so I've not got much to report there, just work's been really busy, but I spent some time putting these together, and hopefully if you are new to sewing, you now will be equipped with some brands and some patterns, which are good places to start, and just a couple of tips on making sure that you pick the best projects for you so that you can enjoy your sewing time. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, or if you maybe have any other, if you think there are any patterns that I've missed, please pop them below. Remember, we're focusing on patterns that are size inclusive. There are lots of good beginner patterns, but not all of them are size inclusive. So yeah, if there's anything I've missed or anything you think is particularly useful to know, please pop them in the comments below. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.